الله رب محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نحن عباد محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى ذويه وآله أبد الدهور وكرما رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Respected ulama kiram, my dear elders and brothers, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given us this opportunity again to be gathered here in order to perform our obligatory salah. May Allah Ta'ala accept our gathering and make this a mean for our salvation by the shafaat of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. My dear brothers, Allah has stated in the Holy Quran about the rights of each other, and our Nabi Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam has explained that in very much detail how to behave with the parents, the elders, the neighbors, the siblings, and to the extent how to behave with a non-Muslim as well. Among those, one of the rights of the parents are that to visit their graves after they leave this world. And among the rights of the common people, rights of the brothers and sisters, to pray for their forgiveness as well. But unfortunately, what we see today is a totally different atmosphere, that people have forgotten this fact that we have rights to fulfill. We have to pray for the forgiveness of our parents, of our elders, of our brothers and sisters, whilst they are living and also after they leave this world. Have we not found this in the hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that Allah's Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam stated, "Nahaytukum an ziyaratil qubur." I did stop you by doing ziyarah of the graves. He states that I did stop you, I did forbid to visit the graves, not to do ziyarah. Nahaytukum, in past I did tell not to visit. Ala fazuruha, but now beware, do visit the graves. So the command of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam by saying do visit the graves, it's a clear indication that it is Sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam to visit the grave. And by mentioning this, that I did forbid you, I had stopped you before by visiting the grave, there are wisdoms behind it. For example, you find in the tafsir of the hadith that people were new to Islam, they had the habit of idol worshipping. When they came into Islam, into the fold of Islam, they learned what is Tawheed, what is Risalah, the difference between respect and the worship, what is Shirk, what is Tawheed, what is the Mahabba and the Ta'zeem of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They learned all these differences from Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they became firm on the Aqidah. In the belief, they were very much firm that now Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that I did forbid, now you do ziyarah because I have confidence that you won't worship any idols hereafter. I have taught you in such a manner that, O my Sahaba, O my companion, and those who follow the Sahaba, those who follow the Tabi'een will never go astray, because me being Habib of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala have taught you the definition of shirk, the definition of bid'ah, and the way of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is Sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So one of the wisdom behind that, to stop, to prevent by visiting the graves, that people were new to Islam, they had the habit of idol worshipping. Now after they learned the proper aqidah from Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they were firm on the belief. Now there is no fear for committing a shirk. So now you may visit the grave. Allahu Akbar. And there are other hadiths as well, which are recorded in Sahih Bukhari. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated, I have no fear from my ummah that they will commit shirk. Because Allah's Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught what is shirk, what is tawheed. So if someone has still a fear that I will commit a shirk, that means he has no value for the words of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He doesn't regard the teachings of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam as complete. He has a doubt on the teachings of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thus he himself is calling that he is not proper in Islam. Allahu Akbar. My dear brothers, Allah's Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated to visit the graves. Now the muhaddithin have recorded there are benefits for visiting the grave for the person who visits as well as the one who is being visited. The one who visits the grave, he is acting on the command of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thus an act of reward. Further, he is gaining the reward for reciting the verses of the Quran, for seeking forgiveness for the one who is resting in the grave, which is again the command of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is also an act of reward. Starting a journey towards the graveyard, this is proven because our Nabi stated, "Fazuruha." Now you do ziyarah. So in order to do the ziyarah, one has to go for a journey from his house towards the graveyard. So this word covers that you can visit the graveyard. You can visit a grave of a pious person. Because if you don't travel from your home, how can you visit a grave? And the command of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to visit. So in order to visit, you should start a journey. And if you say this journey is haram, then you are not going to act on the command of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam to visit the grave. And if you want to act on the command of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you should start your journey. How clear this is in light of the hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the reward of making a journey towards the graveyard is given to the one who acts on the Sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And by being presenting himself in a graveyard, when he seeks forgiveness for the people buried there, he is acting on the command of Allah. وَاغْفِرْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ رَبِّ جَعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي رَبَّنَا وَتَقَبَّلْ دُعَاءِ رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْحِسَابِ. The prayer for the forgiveness of the Muslims is recorded in the Quran, and the one who seeks forgiveness, definitely he will also be rewarded because he is acting on the command of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the benefit is clear for the one who visits the grave, and the one who is resting in the grave, he also benefits. Because according to the hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when a Muslim visits a grave of a Muslim whom he recognized in this dunya, now after leaving this world, whilst resting in the grave, that person still recognizes this person. The one, for example, if I visit a grave of a friend whom I was friendly with him in this dunya while he was in this dunya, now when I visit his grave, as per the hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he still recognizes me. And he becomes pleased due to our visit. And further hadith says, that he gets satisfaction from a person, from a friend who visits his grave. Allahu Akbar. This again clear that the person resting in the grave, he has tasted the death. That is the separation of the ruh from the body. There is no death for the ruh. The ruh is always alive. After Allah created the ruh, it is alive. This is the reason the ruh feels when someone comes to visit him. The ruh may be in the heavens. The ruh may roam the arsh of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. It may do the tawaf of the arsh. It may be dwelling in the paradise. It may be going to the heavens and coming back. But wherever the ruh may be, it recognizes the person who comes to visit the grave of that person. Allahu Akbar. This is a clear picture what we get from the hadith of Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If a person totally is seized after leaving this world, then what about the comfort in the grave? Hadith clearly says that for the believer, the grave is a garden from the gardens of paradise. It's a garden of paradise. And the dress of Jannah is given to him in the grave. The window of Jannah is open towards his grave. The mattress of Jannah is given to him. When a person is nothing after leaving this world, what is the purpose of giving these comforts in his grave? And a person who is a sinner, who is a kafir, there is punishment for him in the grave. There will be fire in his grave. The door of the hellfire is open towards his grave. What is the use when a person is not able to comprehend anything? If he has no sense to understand, what is the use of giving the azab in the grave? Very clear if we ponder on the hadith of Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anyhow, the brother who visits his another brother in the graveyard, that person who is resting, he recognizes. And when he says salam, that person returns to his salam as well. This is also clearly mentioned in the hadith. That means the person who is resting in the grave, he is able to know who has come. He is able to listen to your salam. And he is able to respond to your salam, though you do not listen to his salam. He being in the grave, 3 feet, 5 feet or 6 feet under the earth, he is able to listen to your salam. But when he responds, you are unable to listen, which clears again the person who leaves this world, after leaving this world, his power is being increased. If our powers are more than the person in the grave, then we should be able to listen to his salam. But here it's opposite. The awliya of Allah, the friends of Allah, they can hear and they do hear. But the common people, they do not have that power to listen to the salam of the person who is in the grave. But the person who is in the grave, he is able to listen to your salam. He responds to your salam. He recognizes you as well. At the same time, he feels satisfaction by your visit. Allah. When a common person becomes happy by your visit, what about visiting the graves of the parents? What about visiting the graves of the grandparents, brothers and sisters and relatives? But unfortunately, we see this practice is decreasing among our society today. We don't have time. We are living 10 kilometers away from a graveyard or 20 kilometers away. We don't have time to spend at least once a week to visit the graves of our elders. And we know some people who hardly visit the graveyard only during the Eid days, during Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr. What has happened to the Muslims today? Why is such negligence here? Why not we bring that practice again, which is the Sunnah of Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The Sunnah of Sahaba. What people are moving away from visiting the grave? Yeah, you get the benefit of visiting the grave. You get the reward of making a journey towards the grave. and you get the reward of reciting the verses of the Quran, the salawat on Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the dhikr of Allah Ta'ala. And it is obvious that you will recite something. How can you say, I won't recite, I will just visit the grave, then what are you going to do there? When you go to the graveyard, it's obvious you are to recite something. At least seeking forgiveness, that is also a recitation. And to seek forgiveness, you will remember the verse of the Quran that Allah's command is to seek forgiveness. You will remember the hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam to seek forgiveness for the people who are buried. So when you recall the verses of the Quran, what's wrong to recite the verse? And Surah Al-Fatiha, which is called as Quran, Surah Al-Shifa, the Surah of Barakah, the Surah which contains every knowledge. What is wrong in reciting those 7 verses of Surah Al-Fatiha, which is a praise of Allah? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. You are praising Allah. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, again praising Allah. Maliki Yawmiddin, again praising Allah. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. You are saying that, Ya Allah, you alone we worship, and you are the sole helper. Whoever helps, that real help comes from you, Ya Allah. This is what you see. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, Ya Allah, guide us on the straight path. Sirat al-ladina an'amta alayhim, the path of those on whom you have favored, Ya Allah. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin, not on the path of those who have gone astray. This is the dua what you make. You are praising Allah. You are asking for the guidance from Allah to be on the right path always, and you are seeking the protection from the wrong path. This is what you recite. How come you call this as bid'ah? How come you call this as haram? You are reciting the verses of the Quran and Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha, and you are reciting Surah Al-Ikhlas. Again, praise of Allah. Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad. You are reciting the verses of the Quran and you pray to Allah that, Ya Allah, whatever I have recited, I convey the rewards of these towards the person who is resting, and towards all the people who are buried here, and towards all the believers all around the world. This is what you see. You are praying for yourself, and you are praying for the forgiveness of the people who are buried, who have left this world. How come we call this as an innovation? When our Nabi stated to visit the grave, when you visit the grave, you won't be silent, right? You will recite something. And what are you reciting? Are you dancing in the graveyard? Are you singing a song in the graveyard? Because hadith says when you visit the graveyard, you will remember your death. So when you remember your death, definitely you will do the remembrance of Allah more. You will recite Quran more. You will recite salawat more. So the purpose of visiting the grave is for us to remember our deaths. So when you recall your death, when you remember your death, obviously you will be inclined towards more ibadah, towards reading more Quran, towards reciting more salawat, towards doing more dhikr. So when the purpose is that, what is wrong if you recite those verses and salawat and dhikr in the graveyard? What is wrong in it? Allah. Those who say, you can visit the grave but you can't recite anything, then what should we do? Just stand there. What is the purpose of visiting the grave? Allah. May Allah give us the understanding. My dear brothers, visiting the grave is a sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But unfortunately, we are away from this sunnah and visiting the graves of the parents. How many hadiths are found in the books of Allah? For example, the mafhum of the hadith. Allah's Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated, the one who visits the grave of his father or mother or both of them, Allah will bless him with the reward of Maqbool Hajj. Allah. Another hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the one who often visits the grave of his father or mother or both of them, often visiting the grave of mother or father or both of them, that is regular visit. When this person dies, Allah will appoint angel to visit the grave of this person. Allah. So the one who wanted that angels should visit our graves, he should make this a practice to regularly visit the graves of his parents. But unfortunately, this practice is reduced. We hardly see very few people visiting the graveyards. Mostly people are away from this practice, from the Sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when you visit the grave of your parents, their ruh, their arwah be pleased, they become happy. And their faces will be shining when you pray for their forgiveness, when you pray for their reward, for their elevation of the state. Have we not found this in hadith? That one person, after his death, Allah had already forgiven him, but his status are being elevated day by day. Hadith says that that person questioned, Ya Allah, you had shown mercy upon me. You had already forgiven me, Ya Allah, but I see my status are being elevated day by day. On what account, Ya Allah, my status are being elevated? Allah responded, O my servant, I have forgiven you. I have already forgiven you, but I am elevating your status by the barakah of the dua of forgiveness from us. Your children are seeking forgiveness for you. So by the barakah of that seeking forgiveness, I am elevating your status. My dear brothers, even if the parents' sins are forgiven, by seeking istighfar for them, further their status are being elevated. Now if I ask this question, those whose parents have left this world, those whose grandparents have left this world, don't you like that the status of your grandparents should be elevated in their graves? Don't you want that to happen? That by praying for them, their status should be elevated? If you want the status of your parents to be elevated, then seek forgiveness for them. Then do visit their graves. Do sadaqah on behalf of them. Give charity. Dig a well in order for the people to benefit from the water of that well. Do sadaqah on behalf of them. When you pay a charity, let it be 100 rupees or 50 rupees. Intend it that I am giving on behalf of my so and so brother, on behalf of my grandparents, on behalf of my parents. As per the hadith, the 100 rupees what you spent with the intention of them getting the reward, you will also get the reward, they also will get the reward. So whenever you spend, let it be a parcel of a meal. Have this intention, I am giving on behalf of my so and so deceased. As per the hadith, you will get the reward, they also will get the reward. But unfortunately, these practices are coming very low today, decreased very much, because we have some thoughts of the people that when you recite Fatiha, it doesn't reach the dead. No need to send the rewards, no need to gather for the khatam, no need to gather for the 40th khatam or the 3rd khatam. What is the purpose of this? Why do we arrange 3rd khatam and the 40th khatam? What is the purpose? The purpose is to recite Quran, to do dhikr of Allah, to recite salawat, and to feed the miskin, and the rewards of all these to be given to the person who is resting in the grave. And this purpose is clearly proven from the hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So a thing which is already proven, how come you call this as bid'ah? Today, when there is a janazah, you find a quarrel also. One will say, let us make dua for this janazah after the mayyit, after the janazah salah has been offered. Others say, no, this is bid'ah. You don't need to seek forgiveness. You don't need to make dua for him. You have read the salatul janazah, that's it, bury him. My dear brothers, what do you recite in salatul janazah? Allahumma ghafir li hayyina wa mayyitina. Ya Allah, forgive this mayyit. This is what you recite. Forgive the people who are living and forgive the people who have left this world. This is what you recite in your janazah. In the salatul janazah, you are praying for the forgiveness of the dead. So what is wrong to pray again for the forgiveness after you finish the salah? What is wrong in it? The purpose purpose of making dua is for seeking forgiveness for the person, which you are already doing in your Salatul Janazah, then how come you say after Salatul Janazah it is bid'ah? Where has the intellect of the people gone? Why do they utter such? There is always quarrel. The person, Settara, Avulatham, Mudinji. No need Fatiha, no need Salawat, nothing. Whereas the purpose is to convey the reward of these towards practice. And it is in the hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam that Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala gives the reward in form of mountain to the dead of those acts which are done by the people living in this world. When you give sadaqah, when you seek forgiveness for them, the rewards of these are given in form of mountains to the person who is in the grave. So if you want your status of your parents, of your grandparents, of your brothers and sisters to be elevated, you continue this practice. And if you want not to happen that is your wish. But don't come to say this is haram. If you say this is haram, you are talking against the Quran and against the Hadith. If you are not happy, don't do it. We never said it is must for you to do Fatiha. We never said it is must for you to visit the grave of your parents. We never said that. We didn't say that it is fard upon you. No. If you are happy, if you want your status of your parents to be elevated, you do it. And if you don't want that to happen, you just leave it. But don't go to stop other people who are doing this practice. The practice which is proven from the Quran and the Ahadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My dear brothers, Allah's Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam stated, the one who performs Hajj on behalf of his father or mother, Hajj will be accepted on behalf of his father or mother, and the person who performs Hajj will get the reward of 10 Hajj. Allah. You do only one Hajj on behalf of your father or mother, Allah will accept that, Hadith says, and the person who performs will get the reward of 10 Maqbool Hajj. Don't you want that to happen? And their souls becomes pleased in the heavens. They become happy by seeing this action of their children. Don't you want your parents to be happy in their graves? And when you say, how come they become pleased? When they are dead and gone, then I mention the Hadith that the person who is in the grave, he recognizes when you visit him. He listens to your salam and he responds to your salam as well. And the comfort in the grave and the punishment in the grave is given because there is a life. If there is no life, then what is the purpose of giving the comfort in the grave for a believer? And what is the purpose of giving the punishment for a disbeliever? Allah. Another hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The a'mal of the living are presented to the people who are in the graves. The actions of the people living are presented to their parents, to their relatives. When your parents and relatives sees your good deeds, they become happy. I just said hadith. And there are many references for this hadith, including Ibn Taymiyyah has recorded and Hafiz Ibn Qadiri has also recorded, who are accepted by other people. So the parents and the relatives, they become pleased by seeing your good deeds, and by seeing your bad deeds they become sad. You want to make your parents happy in their graves, or you want to make them sad? You want to make their grandparents, your relatives, happy in their graves, or you want to make them sad? If you want to make them happy, according to the hadith, do good deeds, because it is presented to them. And if you want to make them sad, then it's your wish. You're committing a sin, while seeing your sins, they become sad. And further hadith continues. Allah's Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam stated, they even pray for their children, saying, Allahumma la tumithum hatta Ya Allah, until you guide them the way you guided us, don't let them die. What a beautiful dua is this. Allahumma la tumithum hatta tahdiyahum kama hadaytana. Ya Allah, the way you guided us, you give them hidayat. Your parents are praying for your hidayat. Until you give them hidayat, Ya Allah, don't let them die. What a beautiful dua is from your parents and from your relatives. Your parents are praying for you whilst in the grave, and you are going away for reciting Fatiha on behalf of them. They are praying for your hidayat. They are praying for your iman. And they are praying for your death with iman. And you say that it is shirk, it is haram, it is bid'ah to even recite Fatiha on behalf of them. To convey the rewards towards them, you say it is bid'ah, whereas they are praying for you. My dear brothers, nothing is more important than the dua of hidayat. So when the dua of hidayat is proven from your relatives and from your parents, then it is obviously proven from the awliya of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, from the imams, from the sahaba, and it is obviously proven from the prophets of Allah. So when we say awliya Allah are praying for our guidance whilst in the grave, this is according to the hadith. When your parents can pray for you, when your relatives can pray for your guidance, can't the friends of Allah pray for your guidance? And when they can pray, can't the prophets of Allah pray for your betterment? So the best thing is iman. When the dua of hidayah is proven, then obviously the other small matters of this dunya is proven clear. So Allah has given this ability to the people who left this world, that they are able to listen to your salam whilst inside the grave, under the earth. If we, while living, if we are covered, if someone talks, we won't be able to listen. But the person who left this world, his powers are increased to the extent that if you say salam slowly, assalamu alaikum ya ahl al-qubur, he will listen. If you say loudly, he will listen, because hadith says that he will listen. And he also responds to your salam, but you are not able to listen. That means the powers of the person who after leaving this world are increased. When the power of a common believer is increased, then what about the power of the awliya of Allah Tabaraka? What about the powers of the prophets of Allah? And what about the power of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam? Very simple to understand. But because we are not learning the proper aqidah from the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah, our children are being deviated from the right path. Therefore, my dear brothers, educate your children the proper aqidah of Ahlul Sunnah under the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, who will teach you the Quran and Hadith out of true love for Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, out of true love for Sahaba and Ahlul Bayt and for awliya. If not, there are more chances that your children will be out of the right path. May Allah wa ta'ala grant all of us the tawfiq to remain firm on the aqidah of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. May Allah guide all of us to pray for the forgiveness of our parents, our grandparents, our relatives, our brothers and sisters who are living and also who have left this world. And may Allah grant all of us the tawfiq to make this a habit, to visit the graveyards, so that we could obey the command of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. And at least, my dear brothers, if you are unable to visit the grave often, you have 5 times a day minimum after your salah to say, Ya Allah, forgive my parents, forgive my brothers, forgive all the Muslims. Forgive all the Muslims. Very simple. Rabbana ghafirli, Ya Allah, forgive us. Wali walidayya, forgive my parents. Walil mu'minina yawma yaqumul hisab, and forgive all the believers. How simple is this? Can't you do this? After every prayer, can't you say, Ya Allah, forgive all the believers, forgive my relations, forgive my parents? Very simple. So if you are able to visit the grave, do it. Try your best to do it. And if you find difficulty due to the distance or any other works, at least after prayers, at least once in a way, gather people, recite Quran, recite at least Surah Al-Fatiha, and convey the rewards of this. Inshallah, you will be benefited. They also will be benefited. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.